The James Show Podcast.
I'm right next to you just trying to figure out what the heck's going on with this Epstein story. Because you just heard in the news break there, if you were paying attention to Sean, that Trump said, you people that still are on the Epstein conspiracy theory, he doesn't want your support anymore. Now, I doubt he means that. But if you're just joining us, the discussion here is, do we think we'll ever see the Epstein list? Because now it seems like both sides of the political aisle don't want you to see it. And if neither one of the establishments of the big parties want you to see it, how else would we see it? So I think best hope is we get an end around. Maybe Alan Dershowitz on his deathbed, he's a lawyer, longtime lawyer for, worked for the Clintons even. He was on the Epstein case, and he has in his head who some of these people are. He's not allowed to talk about it because of some court rulings that all that stuff needs to be hushed up. And then there's some sympathy for that legal precedent to protect the victims and whatnot. But I don't know. If we get to hear everything that happened in the P. Diddy trial, we have to hear everything that happened in the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp divorce trial. Will we ever hear from this? Man, I hope so. But I think it's going to be a while. So don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But my head is spinning from all of the flip-flopping around this. What do you think? 800-288-9227. Emily in Walnut Springs, you're on WBAP.
Hi.
Hi.
So, my thought on it is it's the Charlie Kirk thing is feeling a lot like the recent Candace Owens thing. I don't know if you know what went on there. When, Candace was talking out about Macron's wife supposedly being a man.
Being a dude,
all that.
yeah.
Yeah. And then she was hushed up. And she just recently came out and said she was hushed during that time, asked to stop because Macron specifically asked Trump to have her stop talking about that. And this feels like that, the Charlie Kirk thing. He's like hushed now,
Yeah, you're right. I get that sense too. Someone had a chat with Charlie Kirk between Saturday and what he said yesterday, where he's like, "Well, I'm done with this for now." Well, why? What changed since Saturday?
Mm-hmm. It feels like someone reached out to him and was like, "Zip it,"
Well, what else is in your theory here, Emily? What do you think happened? Who's reaching out? Is Trump telling him to stop, or a surrogate telling him to stop?
Well, it was alluded to that. Well, it wasn't alluded to. She came out and said that Trump eventually called her afterwards. And she, Candace Owens actually spoke to Trump, and it was Trump in that instance. I don't know.
All right. Well, Emily, here's the other weird thing is, remember when there was the little falling out between Doge and Trump, and Elon Musk went on X and he did the post where he said market. So I actually took a screenshot of it. And he said the reason why the Epstein files aren't going to come out is because Trump is on it. Now, that's what he posted on June 5th at about 2 p.m. I'm looking at the screenshot right here. And then he replied to that tweet, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. So that sounds pretty cocksure on Elon Musk's part that he thinks it's going to come out. And the question then becomes, well, if Trump's on it, was he just a guy who took a ride from Palm Beach to Manhattan and back a few times? Or did he actually go to the island? And if he went to the island, how do we know they participated in it? Well, we have some witnesses. We have some girls that were there. They've spoken in court. There's court records. There's lawyers that know this information. There's a lady named Ghislaine Maxwell that's chilling in prison right now that has the answer to these questions. Alan Dershowitz has answers to some of these questions. Somebody knows. And it's amazing, for as leaky as DC can be, for this to be hidden. Both sides want it to be hidden, and that makes me even more suspicious. That makes me want to see it even more.
Well, you have people as high up as Prince Andrew that was involved. So
yeah, I think it's pretty well established that guy's a creeper, but that doesn't. If he raped children, go to jail. He needs to go to jail. Fine. But who are these other people they're protecting? What's so damn important about this list? Are you familiar with the Streisand effect, Emily?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, for other people, Barbara Streisand, back when Google Maps came out, she sued them because she didn't want everybody seeing her house, and she thought that was an invasion of her privacy, that anybody could go on Google Maps and see an aerial view of her property in California. And because she sued to hide that information, that made everyone want to go look at her house. And so, I mean, I did it too. What was that, like in 2008 or something, to 2012. I don't even remember when it was. But I went, and the first thing I did was like, well, what's so important about your damn house? And so I went and looked at it. And so her attempt to cover it up just made everyone more interested in it. And we have the Streisand effect going on here. What's so important that I don't need to see this now?
Yeah, it almost feels as though he's like flopping it so that the Democrats will push it. I mean, like he playing one of his silly games he plays, you know.
Well, they're pushing it now.
Yeah.
All right.
So it almost feels like he's just prodding them to do it.
Well, do you think, Emily, in Walnut Springs, that we will ever see the real Epstein list?
Jeez, I don't know. I mean, at this point, who knows? I don't know.
I know. Breaks my heart. All right, great call. Thank you, Emily.
Thanks.
We've got to do ourselves a little segment here with our legal analyst. Jeremy Rosenthal is back on the James Show from TexasDefenseFirm.com. Welcome back to the show. I've got a slew of questions for you. I might have to take you for 2 segments here, all right?
Do what you need. Do what you need. Just be nice. Be gentle. But yes.
Okay, so let's talk about a couple of things that have already come up on the show. And number one, Epstein files. Your take, what's going on with that? Like, why is it so hard for these things to be released? I feel like my dearth of legal knowledge in protecting the victims here is kind of why I don't understand fully what's going on. What's so hard about releasing these files? Okay, here's my guess. There's some victims on there, and you don't want them to be exposed to cause more damage to them. Other than that, I don't see any excuse to not release them, Jeremy. Am I missing something?
No, you're not. And not only that, that's not what Pam Bondi has said. What you said would make sense, right? That this is ongoing law enforcement, that there's some victims here, that not only are there some victims, maybe we have some people who are implicated who we're not sure how involved they are, and that's not fair. But she said there's no list. She says there's no list, and there was a list on our desk 6 months ago, and now we don't have a desk. And who's this Jeffrey Epstein guy? So, a lot of backtracking there, and we're all left to guess. We all project what we want sort of out of that list. We all sort of, everybody that we hate, your ex-wife, your former boss, anybody and everybody who you don't like, you can imagine on that list, but we just don't know.
Fair enough. A lot of people are projecting who they want to be on the list, but it's such a whiplash. It's a tennis match because it used to be Team Blue hiding it, and now Team Red's hiding it, and Team Blue's acting like, well, we got to get this thing released. Well, where were you for the last 4 years? So I really don't know what to think. I just want the list to come out. I just want the people who are raping children to receive justice. And history of mankind hasn't been real optimistic about the elites who do terrible things with children ever receiving justice.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of the crux of all this, and people want to know, well, what makes this different, right? What makes this different from politics as usual? What makes this different from Geraldo Rivera opening the vault, right, in 1986 and then not finding anything? What makes it different? That's what makes it different. It makes it different that this is a billionaire-run pedophile enterprise, and that matters, and that's important, and it has become political. Unfortunately, the administration has had sort of an unforced error. The Democrats are kind of pressing and poking where they know it hurts, so you would expect all that to happen. But I don't think we're any closer to getting any clarity on it, and I don't think we're going to get it anytime soon.
Yeah, sadly, I think I agree with the general sentiment there. Jeremy Rosenthal, what does your legal expertise say about this ICE block app? It's thwarted ICE raids actually here in North Texas. And the discussion we've been having is, where does the line of free speech versus interfering with law enforcement, fire in a crowded theater scenario, where's that line drawn legally? Because this sounds a lot like the judge in Milwaukee that got in trouble for telling an illegal immigrant in her court, hey, ICE is in the hallway. You can escape through the back door here and evade arrest. And she's catching charges. That sounds a lot like what the ICE block app is doing.
It's pretty interesting from a legal standpoint because you do it. To me, I kind of think of, if you remember the Fuzzbuster, the thing that detects where the police are.
Yeah, the radar detectors. My dad certainly didn't have one back in the 90s. That's for damn sure. I've just heard of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you can sort of criminalize that. But are you, you're really walking a tight line with free speech. Now, is it a crime to help somebody who you know is illegal avoid some type of detection? You can make that argument, but all I'm doing is providing information on whereabouts of authorities, right? And I don't know that you're going to get across that line with this app now. Where there's a will, there's a way. Everybody who signed up for an app on that, there's probably a way for the government to get that. And I don't know that you want that out there. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting, it's a pretty clever invention, pretty interesting, and definitely tiptoes on the line.
Well, some of the layman arguments that were had earlier on the James show is, how is this different than from the Waze app telling you, WAZE, telling you where a cop is on the side of the road. And, they're trying to help you evade breaking the law or law enforcement. But that's not the sole purpose of the Waze app. It's to let you know about general traffic. So road hazards, traffic jams, slow traffic, alternate routes. Where's the next bathroom? Where's the next place you can stop and get gas or food or something? So, it doesn't seem to be the primary intent of the Waze app. It's almost like a happenstance if you do get to avoid being caught doing something illegal. But here it seems like the specific intent of the Ice Block app, and it has no other purpose other than helping criminals escape capture. And I feel like that might be the bridge too far.
Maybe if you think about it like this, and we put on, I've done this before, James, when we put on our lawyer hats and we kind of start to analyze this, you commit an offense if you knowingly if you know that there's an investigation, if you know that somebody, that if a federal agent says, okay, thou shall stay right here, do not talk to and it's common in federal investigations when there's a federal grand jury subpoena, they tell you, don't tell everybody in the world, right? That is a binding order that you shall not tell anybody in the world that we're investigating this. But you don't have that specific notice. What you're really brokering here is information. And if that information can be used for ill intent, well, so be it. There's, like we're talking about Waze, there's tons of other apps and other things that sort of tiptoe there. And on Waze, you can make the argument that you're actually, well, no, we're trying to get people to slow down by showing them that there's police out here. Because if you see a police officer on the little widget or emoji, right, then we're helping enforcement, right?
Well, good. That's great, because it would be a net positive for public safety.
You can make that argument, but again, the problem is that you are not on notice of anything specific, and just the location of an ICE agent or officer is not in and of itself. I don't know that just knowing their whereabouts, I don't know. Now, there may be something where I don't know how they're detecting that. I don't know how you, short of putting that may be a problem if you've got a bug or a GPS thing on their cars, that would be a crime. So I don't know how you're really monitoring these things, but assuming that you're not, if it's just people that are reporting it in, saying, hey, there's an ICE raid going on here. I don't know that's. I think you're going to be protected by the First Amendment, and I think that if you try to criminalize that app, I think the app maker and provider probably wins that fight.
I'm glad you're here because we got the news about the Carmelo Anthony trial. He's the guy that's accused of murder in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf at the Frisco track meet. And some people are suspicious about the timing of his trial, June 1st, 2026. And I don't know if people are just too politically minded, but the theory by some is that this is a deliberate timing to coincide with the midterm elections so this guy can be convicted and then we can have riots. And then hopefully that'll help Team Blue. And while that's possible, I don't think that's probable. Is that about right? Is that normal timing for a murder trial? About a year or so later.
Yeah, I would say it is. He's on bond, so he's not in jail, which takes a little bit of the pressure off. Folks are giving the legal system far, far, far too much credit for having control of itself. This case is in front of the Honorable John Roach, who is a fabulous judge, and he is a wonderful public servant. He's as hardworking as a judge as I know. And the way Judge has probably scheduled this is he's saying, look, we're going to set it out once. We're going to have one day, and everybody's going to be ready, and nobody's going to come to me in May of 2026 with the dog ate my homework. We're going to get this. Everybody's getting plenty of time right now. But we're going to get this done that time. So no, I don't smell any kind of rats there. This to me seems perfectly normal.
Well, that also, I'm not belaying the fact that it may be used as the predicate for riots or complaints or protests or whatever the political machinations end up being that from the effects of the verdict. But I think it's really just a coincidence, and it's good to hear that you kind of generally agree. But there were a lot of people that sounded pretty convincing saying it should be sooner. Did we lose him?
A year is not that long of a time in court speak. You know, a year is just not too great. You got to remember that when you're talking about a court case, courts of law are like courts of racquetball. It is one at a time, and there are 500 people that want to play. It's not just him and his case, and I guarantee you that Carmelo Anthony and his team care a lot more about winning the case than they do the midterm elections. So I don't know that that's right. Not only that, when you're scheduling these cases, it gets really complicated because the prosecution's going to have experts. The defense is going to have experts. You're coordinating 15 calendars, literally. So right. A trial setting is a real hard thing to get everybody to agree to, and again, the judge is just basically saying, look, I'm going to give everybody as much time as you need, but we're only doing this once, and that's kind of Judge Roach's MO, and he's fair that way, and yeah, I'm sure that when he says June 1st, that's what he means.
Well, it's kind of helpful that you know this judge. How long do you expect a trial like this to take? This one could take a little while, and I would say maybe 2 weeks. That's about the over under here. You had a real quick bang interaction here, so I don't know that you're going to be going through a bunch of on December 1st this happened, and then on December 2nd this happened on December. So I don't think you're going to have a lot of that. I'd say if I was a betting man, I'd say about a week, 10 days maybe. Well, that's a lot faster than I expected. Well, thank you very much for your insight. Always appreciated. This is the great Jeremy Rosenthal. TexasDefenseFirm.com is his website. Appreciate your time again, Jeremy.
Always, James. Always.
Thank you very much. All right, let's go to the phones here. Christopher in Dallas. You're on WBAP.
Hi, thanks, James. I'm thinking out loud here, just kind of speculation, but I wanted to go back to the Epstein conversation, if you don't
Please
mind.
do. Yeah, go ahead.
So, originally back when all of this was coming to light, there was talk, the CIA is involved, and these are honeypots, and, incriminating, compromising, extortion, leverage, and all that sorts of stuff. But you'd think if Donald Trump's name was on there, they would have released that list. And now you go back to that whole basis of the extortion and honeypot aspect. Maybe, there is a list. And maybe, rather than releasing it, they're going to sit on it. And they know that the people who are on that list know that he knows who's on there. And maybe he's going to use that to his advantage. Just thinking out loud as one of the reasons why they haven't released it.
Now, pragmatically speaking, that would be smart. But from a human sort of emotional level, that's pretty evil, too. We're going to delay justice for child rapists because I can use it as political leverage. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that makes me doubt that possibility, but I don't know. It
kind of goes back to the 5D chess. We don't always know what's being thought or planned or
Well, if that's the case, then why did he hype it up to begin with? Why did he hype it up on? Well, I understand on the campaign trail because that excites his voting base. But after he got elected, he was the one that was bringing it up in January and February. It was his administration. It was Pam Bondi that brought in all the influencers, and they handed out the binders, and they made a big show in front of the media. And they even put phase 1 on the binders with the sort of implication implying that there's going to be a phase 2, if not a phase 3 and phase 4, and we're going to get more of it. So if that's the case, then why would they set themselves up to have to backtrack like this? So, and I don't have the answer to that.
Right. And I think what they were doing was, in a similar instance to Russiagate and the dossier, I think they were trying to implicate that, hey, Trump's on this list and there's this list. And Trump came out and said, it's possible this was created by Hillary.
Yeah.
Obama. Well,
Christopher, do you think we'll ever see the list?
I hope so. Do I think it'll be in the next 12 to 18 months? Probably not.
Yeah. I think that's exactly where I'm at. I really hate how politics is getting out of its lane. Could you just stay in your lane? And the problem with that is politics is ugly. It's emotional. It's divisive. And one of the great escapes is supposed to be sports. We have these built-in escapes in our life. Going to the movies, watching sports, going to a restaurant, just having fun, having a good time, going to play putt-putt, going to the golf course. But here it's Major League Baseball's All Star Week. I think they just played the game yesterday, didn't they? I don't know. I'm not a big baseball fan. But at the press conference, at one of the many press conferences, this reporter comes up with something political. Now, what she's talking about is a few years ago when Georgia passed some sort of voter security bill or whatever. It was treated like Jim Crow 2.0, and it was going to disenfranchise minorities, and it was a threat to our democracy. So Major League Baseball, in order to support, the minorities here in America, moved the Major League Baseball game for some reason from one of the blackest cities in America to Denver, one of the whitest cities in America. Made no sense at the time. But I guess they forgot about that. That law's still in effect, and they decided we're going to have the baseball game, the All-Star game there. After all, nothing's changed. But suddenly it's okay for Major League Baseball to have their All-Star game in Atlanta. For me, I say that, and I think, well, good. Let's just not even bring politics into the Major League Baseball All-Star game, but media just can't let it go.
There is a law on the books here in Atlanta that is a voter suppression law that Joe Biden has called Jim Crow of the 21st century. Dave, in 2021, in the MLB Network special, you said it's about being relentless with our voices and speaking up, and this is not an isolated moment, and it needs to be something talked about on an ongoing basis and being relentless with it. What happened to being relentless with our voices, and why are we in Atlanta when this law is still on the books? And it is a dangerous situation to be a journalist in Atlanta because Atlanta has detained the most journalists by ICE.
I believe the question was a political question about laws that are on the books and everything like that. And the All-Star game was taken out, now it's brought back. Interesting. I don't know if any of us are the experts or the ones that should be giving answers on that, but respect and appreciate the way you feel about it. And I would assume that there was a reason or some conversation that was had by the MLB and the state that all parties thought that this would be a wonderful host city for the All-Star game. And I think everybody is all very excited to be back in the beautiful city of Atlanta.
Now, remember, when they passed this law, and it just went into effect 4 years ago, this was in the wake of that very weird election in 2020, where for the first time in your life, for the first time in American history, on election night, there was a group of people that were like, yeah, it's 2 a.m, we're Bush. Tell you what, let's just shut this down. We'll stop counting, turn off the lights. We'll come back and finish this in the morning after we all get some good shut-eye. Never happened in American history. Even before we had computers, even when you had to ride a horse for 12 hours to get to the polling location, they didn't stop in the middle of the night because, boy, we sure are tired. Before they had electricity, before they had air conditioning, before they had all the comforts modern life can afford, we never stopped. And the crazy part is it didn't just happen in Fulton County, in Atlanta, where this question was asked. It happened in 5 places. Now, what are the odds with that? The takeaway I have from this is how come this is never coming from the other direction? How come the media and the public in general and politicians are never leaning on states or municipalities from the right to adjust their schedule, to adjust where their All-Star game is at? Do you remember Team Red? Have you ever given a rip where the All-Star game is? Like, oh, we can't have it in California. They just passed this new gun control bill. No, I think you got to give credit to Team Red, and I'm not crediting MAGA. I'm saying anybody Team Red for respecting the separation of politics and things that are supposed to specifically be an escape to politics. I understand there's some other realms that you can swim in that have a natural overlap with politics. When you're talking about education, of course, that's a separate industry that's not political, but it does have an overlap in politics because most of your funding comes from the political process. All right, we can't avoid it there. You can't avoid it when it comes, if you're in the oil industry, politics is going to overlap with that. If you're in the gun industry or you make ammo or you have a gun range, there's going to be overlap with that. But damn it, baseball, we can't even leave baseball alone. We can't leave football alone. They've got to come out. LeBron has to come out during the playoffs with the hands up, don't shoot lie on his T-shirt. And we've got to do all kinds of political propaganda like that. Has anyone ever come out with a, hey, corporations are people shirt? No, that never happens. Has anyone ever come out standing up for gun rights? Did anyone ever take a knee? Did anyone ever take a knee before a football game? Because God has been kicked out of schools and the Bible has been kicked out of schools? You know, Tim Tebow would take a knee and silently pray, and he just made it his own business. He didn't run around telling everyone what he took a knee about. But can we all agree? And I guess we agree. Hey, for the 20% of you listening to the show that are Team Blue, can y'all drop this, please? Can you just let us escape your hectoring, your lugubrious bickering at all times? Can you just drop it for a second? You're not really fighting Hitler. You're not really fighting Nazis. It's not really, your political opinions are not so important. You have to go disrupt and interrupt everyone else's good time. It makes you look like a petty, bickering child when you do it, and most of us are sick of it. All right, that's going to about do it for the James Show. I wish I had another hour. This is one of those days where we should ask Mark Levin, hey, can you just give Parker another hour here? But in the meantime, if you want to hear more of the James Show, if you didn't get to hear all 3 hours, it was a barn burner today. It was really hot in the first hour. I'm about to get out of here and go put up the podcast. You need to go check it out. Wherever you're already listening to podcasts, look for the James Show or James Parker. It'll pop up. But look, I tell you, go listen to it on the WBAP app or WBAP.com. And about half of you listen to me. The other half don't. That's fine. Just wherever you can get it, go check it out. And tell someone about the James Show. All right? I need you to be my little disciples and spread the good news about this show so I can keep this job. I like this job. I like talking to you every day. So do me a favor. If there's someone you know who will like the show, introduce them to it. If there's someone you know who will hate the show, definitely make them listen to it. That's my time, though. I'll be back tomorrow from 2 to 5. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.